We won the World Series once again in 2031, taking down the Seattle Mariners in 6 games. It was a fun playoff, and we were going to be going up against some interesting competition, regardless of whether or not it was the Mariners or the Boston Red Sox. And we've got a lot to talk about, so let's dive into it. We're going to start actually by talking a little bit about the World Series and how it was good, but there was a bit of a disappointment. There is a very major problem with the Seattle Mariners. I know we talked about them a little bit in our last video. We thought their team was very, very good. They won 108 ball games in the regular season. But when I went to go and check up on them, because I was wondering what exactly they were looking like for the World Series and how big of a competitor they were going to be, the first thing that stuck out to me was how amazing their defense is still, how amazing their offense is. Bill Lace had a great season. I think one of the best seasons in baseball history here. 40 doubles and homers, 350 batting average, a 193 OPS plus, a 10.6 plus WAR season. This kid is amazing. He's going to be a problem for a long time in the league. But what I noticed, and what you may also notice if you remember our last episode, we were talking about how they had a really good pitching staff that was pretty young. And when you look at this, you're like, well, hold on now. Kirby's not an ace, and Alcantara's old, and Griffith isn't exactly that great, and he's got shoulder inflammation. I mean, how did this team get to the World Series again? And I took a little bit of digging because I was like, well, hold on. Wasn't there like a Mayhew character that was like injured at one point during the regular season? Where did he go? He's not here. Did they trade him? Did they get rid of him? Did something happen? And yes, not trade, something happened. Daniel Mayhew is retired. Unfortunately for the Seattle Mariners, on the 2nd of October, he tore his rotator cuff for the second time in his career as a Major League Baseball player after he had just gotten back from a biceps tendonitis, and he had to call it a career. He actually had to retire. Um, it is a disastrous situation for the Seattle Mariners, who were relying on this 23-year-old pitcher, first round, 8th overall pick from 2027, to make a huge mark on their squad. And his ratings looked amazing. He was on pace to be a very solid arm for the Seattle Mariners for years and years to come. And unfortunately, that has been cut short here in 2031. So unfortunately, thoughts and prayers to the Mayhew family for that injury and the retirement, unfortunately. And, bigger sympathies going out to the Seattle Mariners, who unfortunately are no longer going to be in possession of one of the up-and-coming starting pitchers in the American League. So that really, it kind of made the team very single-dimensional. They were just an offensive juggernaut team, and that ended up resulting in us being able to fairly soundly take them down in 6 baseball games. We defeated them. Well, sorry, we lost the first 2 games actually, 7-6 and 14-5. So they had the spirit in the first 2 games, but our offense was just too much for them as we were able to keep them pretty much controlled. After that, we won 9-6, 7-6, 8-5, and then an absolute butt whooping in the final game of the series. 17-8 was the final score, as Valdez was able to beat Kirby in that final game. Condon ended up having 7 home runs in the World Series. 7. He, of course, was the World Series MVP after batting, 333? Only 333, but having 7 home runs and 13 RBIs in the World Series. It was a World Series for him to remember. It was not so good for Larry Kunkel. He actually had a really rough World Series, but he was doing much better in the playoffs before the World Series. He ended up pitching us to victories against San Francisco, and I believe he had technically no wins, but he helped get us to victories against Cincinnati in both of the games started against them. Larry Kunkel continues to develop absolutely phenomenally. As you can see, I would say a little bit higher than we are on him, but I'm still very, very pleased with the 91 over 92 stuff and the 71 out of 76 movement, 72 out of 74 control. He still has a little bit of development left, but as you guys can see from the statistics down below, and we'll talk about this in a second here, Larry Kunkel won the triple crown for pitching in the National League. He had the most wins, he had the best ERA, and he had the best strikeouts in the National League, an 8.0 WAR season for Larry Kunkel. So congratulations to him. And again, congratulations to us as the Colorado Rockies. We take down the Seattle Mariners to win our third World Series in the last 4 seasons. And our score, 1,232. It is the third year in a row we have won over 100 ball games. We have absolutely been destroying it. The hitting was not as good this season. The pitching was a little bit better. But in all honesty, the league is just getting better and better as we get more and more of these draft picks up into the system. As the quality will continue to rise, it will get tougher and tougher until we eventually have to get a whole new wave of players to be able to really, keep us up in the loop. I guess we'll start off with some news and information. David Tufo got Manager of the Year for the Arizona Fall League, I believe, for the complex system, basically. Congratulations to him. We also had the #1 player in the ACL. That was Justin Novar, who has risen all the way up to AAA over the course of the regular season, and he is still looking like our top prospect moving into the upcoming season. He is now prospect ranking number 32. So Novar, still a very good prospect for us. We're hoping to see him be able to continue to develop. Sean Cavins also had a good season down in the rookie system. He's been moved up as well. And it was a good season for our R-ball team, I believe. We did have a couple of injuries over the course of the regular season, nothing important. Merrill and Valdez had a little bit of time on the IL at this point. I think Merrill came back just in time for the World Series. Yeah, he did, and was able to help us out in the World Series. But he had a good season. We'll talk about the players in a little bit of time here. We did end up getting to the All-Star game, of course. Larry Kunkel represented us, as well as Will Vest. Charlie Condon was in the All-Star game. We also had Riley Green and Jaden Stroman in the All-Star game representing your Colorado Rockies. So it was a good one for that. For the rookies, the prospects, we had Benito Alvarez, a relief pitcher, Tony Hernandez, our AAA starting pitcher, who might actually be trying to make the majors next year. I don't know about that or not, but we'll see. But of course, we had Muland and Novar were our 2 batters representing our squad, and those were very, very good for us. So still happy about those. Happy how well they did. Novar, again, a 5 WAR season by the time he hit the All-Star break. So he was doing phenomenally. He was in the rookie system. He shouldn't have been in there. We kept discovering more rookie prospects from our scouting developments and our scouting discoveries. Nothing too important. We didn't make any trades at the trade deadline. We really didn't feel like we had any money to be able to do that. We have a lot of stuff happening at the end of the season. If you guys recall, we are still waiting to see what happens with Bobby Witt Jr. and Riley Green at the end of this season. I already know the answer. You'll find out in a second. But basically, they have opt-outs. And it's surprising, actually. We went ahead and continued to see development among all of our players. Jorge Rodriguez, who is actually not on the team anymore, he had a little bit of a downer season. He's been dropped down to 4 stars. He's now not on the team anymore. He's been traded. We had some good development from people like Josh Edwards this year. He's actually had a really good season. He is actually potentially going to be a potential shortstop option for us down the road. We'll see about that. But he had a 25-25 season in AAA, which is actually a pretty good sign for not having the greatest ratings in the world, but having a really good personality and some decent enough ability to play the infield. We might think about converting him to a second baseman and seeing if he's better fitted for that position. We'll have to see about that. Jorge Rodriguez was fighting for the Rookie of the Year award for the season. We haven't gotten to awards yet. He might still get that, even with us having literally just traded him away. We still might be able to get that at this point. We had, of course, other injuries and stuff like that happening over the course of the season, but nothing, again, too serious. We did get Best Pitcher of the award for DSL Rockies 2. That is somebody who I don't think is ever going to be that great, but you know what? Hey, I will take that any day of the week that I can get. Carlos Sanchez, another person on that list as well. He only had 8 starts in the rookie system. Again, sometimes the AI kind of puts people in the wrong systems, and then it corrects after a couple of weeks, but it's already too much because they're so good. They will just overflood the league with how good their performance was, and it just doesn't get any better. Ben McCarthy actually had a really good season. He's developed up to a 3.5-star catcher, which is going to make it very difficult to keep Drew Romo, when we have somebody who's actually hitting above average and is still pretty solid on the defensive end for blocking and framing, and the arm is not terrible. So there is actually a very high chance we might be looking at the possibility of trading Drew Romo away in the offseason just because his, what is it, I think it's $8 million contract is it's actually quite a lot for us this season at this point. Kunkel, of course, continues to get Best Pitcher of the Month. He was pretty good all throughout the season. Charlie Condon had a good season. He still ended up going a little bit beneath what I was expecting from him. He still ended up almost hitting 50 home runs. He had 49 at the end of the season. If you want to know what he's looking at right now, he currently is at the age of 29, going into his 29-year season. He has 233 home runs. There's a fairly decent chance that Charlie could potentially get upwards of 700 by the end of his career. We'll have to keep track on that and see what we can do. And again, we've got Charlie locked down until age 35 up to about $26 million. So it's not bad if we can keep that fragile ability a little bit under control and not let him get injured. He should be a pretty solid person for a long time. Unfortunately, Kyle Johnson, to go down with an injury. He is out for the season, and that was at the beginning of the season, I believe. No, we had just called him up from AAA, and he instantly went down. He was supposed to be a replacement to, I think it was Valdez at one point, but he basically came in for an inning and a third, and then basically just ruptured his ulnar collateral ligament, and he's been gone for now about, I think, a couple of months, and I don't know if he'll come back for a while, unfortunately. So yeah, that was interesting. We did claim, of course, a playoff bound on the 12th of September, and then pretty soon after that, we ended up getting the National League West. This was, of course, the first season, I believe the first season, or maybe the second season, that the Los Angeles Dodgers did not get into playoffs. So it was just us and the Giants who made it into the playoffs. And of course, the Giants are very, very good. They've got Granneman still, although he's actually going down in ratings. Oh, he's only 3.5 stars now. Ooh. Well, okay then. Logan Gilbert still gives them a very high-quality 4-star pitcher, but Popke's going up, though. 4.5 stars for Popke. So they still have a very solid pitching staff. They picked up Imanaga as well as Mitchell Parker to round out their rotation. We were still able to fairly beat them down in the National League West. Their offense is just not that good right now. But otherwise, again, of course, the Boston Red Sox, Seattle Mariners, Rangers, White Sox, and Tigers all made it in. Of course, the Tigers make it in. We'll talk about them in a little bit here, though. We actually made that deal with them, giving them our best relief pitcher. And you guys might notice we picked up 2 of their players who are on the American League standings over there, or the league leaders. The Boston Red Sox, of course, were the competitors against the Seattle Mariners in the ALCS. Of course, that is Russ McLaughlin's team. He is still looking very, very good. It was supposed to be Daniel Mayhew versus Russ McLaughlin. That just did not happen, unfortunately. Shane McClanahan, $43 million Shane McClanahan, by the way. Still pitching here at the age of 34, doing pretty good. Ended up getting, of course, the 21 wins that led to the American League. He's having a pretty good career, and I would say that's serviceable for a little expensive for only a 6-WAR player, but okay, sure. But the Boston Red Sox have a really good offensive crew with Roman Anthony, a 3.5-star outfielder, Rafael Devers, who had a phenomenal season, 150 RBIs, 49 home runs, 59 doubles, just absolutely destroyed American League pitching at this point. And of course, Tristan Casas hitting 46 home runs. This kid is pretty good too. This is basically their version of a Charlie Condon, and Rafael Devers would have been their version of like a Riley Green, basically, but he's got more pop than Riley Green has. So we'll see about that. But they have moved Devers to first base. Third base is now officially over to Jason Hodges. I think they might have made some moves already because I don't remember Steve Hartley or any people playing in the regular season either. But they still have Franklin Arias as their shortstop, and he's been actually very solid for them as a very good shortstop who also has a little bit of pop. So Boston was good, but they just were not good enough to take down the Seattle Mariners, who were able to take into the World Series. Again, for the National League, we had the Reds, Cubs, Marlins, Mets, a lot of really poor-looking teams, unfortunately. The National League is kind of in a position right now where a lot of teams are not terrible, but a lot of teams are just not amazing. We're really the only, amazing team now. The Reds just really didn't have it this year. Their offense was good, but their pitching was terrible. So it kind of reminds me of the first couple of seasons when you're rebuilding the Rockies. You'll have really good offenses if you focus on the offense, but then your pitching staff will suffer. We've gone the opposite. We've actually built up the pitching staff a lot because we picked up Bieber and Gray, and we kind of established that our pitching was going to be better than 10th or worse, and then we supplemented a whole bunch of offense in to match. And now that we have Kunkel and we've always had a really good bullpen, I would say. The rotation is now pretty solid, and it's going to get better as we move forward with some of our developments and other things that are happening along the way. So all that to say, the Reds are not looking so good. The Mets aren't looking so good. A lot of these teams that were supposed to be, top tier caliber. I mean, the Mets have got Mason Miller. He's really good. And they also have Fondez, and he was supposed to be pretty good, but he's down to 3.5 stars, and he's fragile now. It's just going to be interesting to see kind of how stuff goes. Oh, and this is the closer, Mason Miller. Oh, good grief. This game and its conversions of closers into starting pitchers. So anywho, the Mets are still pretty good, but I feel like as if they've got a little bit of work to do, and their bullpen this year was terrible. So we'll see how it goes, but Mets, not terrible, but they've got a little bit of work ahead of them. Marlins have actually been moving up in the system. I believe this is now the second or third season that they've made playoffs. Yeah, second in a row they've made playoffs. 83 wins, 82 wins. Not great, but they're being able to sneak in. They picked up Corbin Carroll in the offseason. He ended up having a pretty bad season, unfortunately. So we'll have to see what happens with him next season, although it looks like he might have been injured for most of it, so that's kind of a shame as it is. But their bullpen's pretty good. That looks very, very nice for a bullpen, although Leo is really, really poor for a 6 ERA closer at certain points in the regular season. That's obviously going to get fixed next year, hopefully. But otherwise, they, of course, have Dylan Head. And this is one of the better batters in Major League about now. He's going to be a pain in the side of a lot of these teams and the pitching staffs out there. Very good speed, very good defense, very good contact ability. Yeah, he's going to be a problem for a long time. If they get a couple of good bats behind him, the Marlins can be a competitor for a while now at this point. Alrighty, that brought us up, of course, to, I believe, yes, playoff clinching situations. We continue to discover more people as we move forwards. Deduno got his, fifth? Yes, fifth manager of the year. He got it for the Grizzlies. They did not win the entire thing, unfortunately, but he now has manager of the year for 2025, 2026, 2028, 2029, and 2031. He has won the California League Championship 4 times in 8 years? No, 7 years. 4 times in 7 years. This dude is amazing, and he is helping develop our single A players so well at this point. Dalvinson Reyes got the reliever of the year for Double A at this point. Of course, we won the National League West. We continue to find more prospects. Simon got manager of the year for the second time in his career. For AAA, he was having a very good season, even though they didn't win it all in the playoffs, I don't believe. They've only ever won playoffs once. That, of course, was 2026 when we first brought on Jared Simon, but he's been a very good teacher in AAA, and he's really helped develop the players, and that has shown itself in Alex Saucedo. Saucedo ended up winning pitcher of the year for AAA, had a very good season. He should be at least in spring training to try out for the Major League team. He was actually one of our pickups in the 19th round in 2026. Can you believe that, guys? A 19th rounder. That's 553rd overall pick. And he gets pitcher of the year for AAA. We only had Tyler Wells as another option, and he's just basically a 37-year-old depth pickup for us for the AAA system. He probably should be gone by the end of the regular season. We continue to see some struggles and issues. Edgardo Enriquez got a little bit of a downer situation, got his stamina down to 1, and he is now no longer on the squad either. So we've made some moves. We've had to make some changes. We just continue to see some good development from people like Novar. We continue to see some really good development from people like Roberto Hernandez down in our international complex at this point. But we continue to move forward. Went ahead and got through. Green got batter of the month for September, I believe. Kunkel got pitcher of the month for September. For September, my apologies. And then he ended up getting, of course, the Triple Crown in the end of the regular season. It was just barely. He ended up squeaking out Kyle Bradish by .01 on the ERA and beating Duran. Of course, it's the reliever turned to closer returned to starting pitcher Duran, who had the most strikeouts outside of Kunkel. But 262 strikeouts, a 2.76 ERA, and an 8.0 WAR for the regular season for Larry Kunkel. 21 wins. So the 23-year-old has got 41 wins in his career so far. 515 strikeouts. It is a phenomenal situation with Kunkel at this point. We swept the San Francisco Giants in the division series. They really didn't pose much of a threat because their offense is just that bad. Lovato, unfortunately, then immediately went down with a stretched elbow ligament. He's out for 11 months. He's basically out until the end of next season, so we will not have our 13.5 or so $1 million relief pitcher for his 2032 season. So that's going to hurt, unfortunately. We went ahead and started our international scouting practices. We are looking at a couple different individuals. I'd have to go back over our development, though, unfortunately. I've forgotten who we were looking at. I don't think it's Soretti. There's a couple different people we're looking into off and on. There's just, again, quality is just kind of falling apart in our save here. As you guys can see, a bunch of 3 stars on our list, but we'll see what we can do. Maybe some people will stick out as like really good options and something better than what we're hoping to get at this point. But otherwise, maybe someone like Tapia is kind of the best option for us. A durable starting pitcher might be the best thing we can do, but he's very weak on that relationship. We got to do a whole bunch of more practices to be able to do that. In fact, you know what? Let's go ahead and do a practice really fast. Boom. Done the practice, and Peretti's going down on his rating. Okay, so it's just not going well. It's really not going well, unfortunately. Yeah, Peretti down, Soretti is up, Robledo is up. So an interesting shortstop option in Robledo. Maybe we'll go for him at this point. Ricardo over there. Maximo still having a great bat at this point. I mean, if I really wanted a DH, I mean, it looks like he's a DH. He's basically a DH. He'd have to have so much of that defense developed, but otherwise, I mean, he continues to his contact keep going up and up and up at this point, so that's a good sign. Maybe he'll get better and better, but it's just tough to be able to say that he's anything more than basically a Luis Arias kind of character, basically. All right, so that brought us into our situation as we got into the World Series. We took down the Mariners in the World Series, and that's when the fun began. You thought we had fun so far? Oh, we're only getting started. Bobby Witt has decided not to opt out of his contract. And that, I'm going to say, is a good thing. Because again, the Kansas City Royals are paying 50% of his contract. So if when you go to our salaries, he's only $17.5 million until he gets down to 14 at 2037. So we're going to have Bobby Witt Jr. until he retires, basically. He is ours to have at third base for the remainder of his career. And I fully intend to have him at third base until the end of his career. That is absolutely phenomenally fantastic to have. All right, so we're keeping him at third base, and that's good because we kind of really didn't have a good third base option to replace him with, and this gives us that option. As expected, however, Riley Green has decided to opt out. He will go to free agency. The dude had a very good season, a 7.1 WAR season, even with him batting below 300 for the first time, I think, since joining us. Riley Green has his first rougher season in a Colorado Rockies uniform, but he does at least stick the landing in his last 2 seasons, getting more and more reliable, finally hit over 35 home runs, had the 30 stolen bases. If he continued to play for us moving forwards, he wants like $48 million. It's not happening. He may be a potential 40-40 candidate down the road. We've developed him very well. The wrecked injury proneness is what I'm more concerned about. In fact, what I'm really more concerned about is he's going to go play for a team like the Dodgers at the upcoming season. That's what I'm really more concerned about because this is a 5-tool outfielder. If he can stay healthy, he can be an amazing force on the field. So it's going to be tough to see him go, but unfortunately, it just wasn't going to be. Now, before we get to our new budget, I wanted to talk a little bit about the owner, sorry. He thought we were doing a very good job. He likes some of the stuff we're doing. He still wants us to be able to try to add some, like acquiring a Cy Young and building up our farm system, improving our fan interest, but he's still very happy that we're doing a good job. However, he decided to cut our budget. We went from $250 million to $224. I don't know why. So, we had to panic a little bit because basically he dropped us $26 million. we did not have $26 million to be able to even afford our budgets. So we sent Edgardo Enriquez to the White Sox for $35 million in cash. This is our 2.5-star relief pitcher. He had his first kind of rougher season. I do not believe that he'll be a problem to be gotten rid of. He only has 1 stamina. There's a chance that he might be really kind of starting to get into problems with some injury proneness. He hasn't had a ton of injury problems, but I don't like a 1 stamina relief pitcher. So unfortunately, we did end up basically having to make that deal. And then we decided to make one more deal. We traded with the Tigers and we asked for $25 million and we picked up Ben Jacobs. And I love this deal. This is phenomenal. Welcome home, Ben Jacobs. Welcome back to the Rockies. We should never have traded you. We never should have traded Camacho, and we'll never trade you again. Well, I can't make that promise. But basically, Ben Jacobs, our personal developed player, is back on the Colorado Rockies. We had to give up Jorge Rodriguez, our number 1 relief pitcher, but he was costing us $28 million to be our number 1 relief pitcher. And at this point, I have no inclination of paying a closer $28 million when we are not increasing our budgets. So unfortunately, Jorge had to go. He is just the unlucky person who he's probably going to get reliever of the year. He's probably going to get rookie of the year. But unfortunately, we needed money. We needed space. And in this deal, we also got rid of Adel Amador. $18 million went in this situation as well. Amador just does not have the batting profile that I really need him to have. He's now batting he batted 224 for the season. He still has the really good speed and he still has the really good stealing ability, but he just can't hit. And while I like having him as a utility, like defensive first coordinated speed demon, we have younger kids who are coming up to the system who could be that way better than him. We also got rid of Benito Alvarez, who is an interesting bullpen arm, but he's also all the way down in the rookie system. He could be a problem down the road where maybe he does develop into something, but in order to be able to get Ben Jacobs and a couple other people who are actually very interesting, we did have to give him a couple of good potential prospects. We also gave them Matt Bentley, Jesus Rivera, Dave Yearwood, who has not developed, unfortunately. Dave has just not quite gotten there. He was supposed to be pretty good. He was supposed to be on par with McPherson and all of our catching prospects. Who is that again now? McPherson was supposed to be pretty good. We thought that he was going to be as good as like Ben McCarthy, and maybe people like, who was the other person we had that was a really, really decent catching prospect? I don't recall, unfortunately. McCarthy. Oh, Harvey. Right, Harvey. We really thought we had a couple of good catching prospects, but unfortunately, Yearwood just really didn't pan out. His defense is still pretty good, but his bat just really hasn't gotten there, unfortunately. So we gave him, as well as Guevara, over to the Detroit Tigers. They gave us, of course, the first one being Ben Jacobs. That was a good pickup for us. They also gave us Dustin Bro, who is he's going to be in our AAA system at this point, a replacement to Yearwood, basically, a better hitting catcher who's got some decent enough catching ability, some good defense there, but a better bat. He should be a good AAA depth pickup for us. But we also picked up a 17-year-old kid called Roberto Ramirez, who is a second baseman, and we have absolutely fallen in love with his batting profile already. He hasn't had a great season. He went between Tigers' 1 and 2 rookie system. He had a better season in the 2 system than the 1 system, but he's durable on the injuriness, so he's not going to get hurt that often, and we might be able to develop that defense into something a little bit more is going to be the plan, and we already have high scouting on him, so he's a 4.5-star prospect. We have high hopes that Roberto could be a replacement to our second base situation down the road, and that would be when basically Jackson Holliday is going to have to either be moved on or potentially traded, or if I don't think he has an opt-out this time. But regardless, this should give us a good second base option, and if not, maybe a DH option for this 6'1", 17-year-old. And he, again, just got started this season, so good chance for, there's a chance it'll go down, chance it'll go up. We'll see. We'll see what happens with his development. We'll probably put him into the development system and see if we can maybe get a program or two done this year and then see what he can do in the upcoming seasons. We also picked up Kevin Lundy, who is a 2.5-star starting pitcher. He'll be going into our single A system. He's got an interesting 5-pitch repertoire. This could be someone who could develop into something interesting down the road, and we've been seeing some good results in the rookie rookie and A+ systems for the Detroit Tigers. We also picked up Caden Crowell, who is another 4-pitch starting pitcher. He actually will be fighting alongside Jacobs for starting rotation playing time, and that's actually a really big one for us because we actually needed some kind of depth in our starting rotation. And then we picked up Bryce Terang to be basically the utility replacement to Amador, and this is basically the same person as Amador, which is kind of scary. But basically, Amador and him have got a very similar profile where they are I and avoid K and a little bit of contact with a whole bunch of speed, and then it's mostly just defense. And this is kind of why I was okay with getting rid of Amador, is that basically Amador and Bryce Terang are very close to being the same caliber player, which is kind of weird considering they're a whole star away from each other. But basically, Terang is a 31-year-old version of Amador with a little bit less of the bat, which I think is how he gets that less quality. But he still provides us with exactly what we're looking for, some good speed, some good defense, and he's going to be necessary because, unfortunately, we are not going to be extending we are going to be extending a qualifying offer to our shortstop, Tovar, and this is where it's going to start to hurt a little bit. We are expecting to extend qualifying offers to Riley Green, Ezekiel Tovar, and Will Vest. I'm actually expecting Will Vest to pick us up on this qualifying offer, but Tovar should decline, and Green should decline as well. Tovar's bat is just not there anymore, and it's starting to show. He's had good seasons, but this season in particular it was weak. It was a very weak season for Tovar. Still had the hits, still had the stealing, still amazing on the defensive side, but the bat's just kind of falling apart a little bit at this point. It's starting to kind of slow down, and I just don't really see him being able to continue to get better and better at this point. I think he's hitting his peak, and his extension request is closer to $30 million, and even with the trades that we just did, I would have to wait until everyone else leaves and evacuates the system to be able to offer him something. So basically, we can't offer him an extension because we don't have money until basically Riley Green and Will Vest are gone and everyone else kind of exits from the arbitration situation. We're not going to be giving arbitration to Flores, Rodriguez, Cabrera. We're expecting to give it to De La Cruz, but that's also debatable because we have a lot of young prospects coming through the system right now. We have, of course, Muland. We have Novar, who's almost ready to go. If we do prospects only, we have, of course, Novar. Peland is really good, and Alvarez is pretty good, too. So we have some decent people in the rookie system who are really trying to make it to the majors right now. So we really don't have a whole lot of space for someone like an Alexander De La Cruz, who's got some good speed and is decent on the defense for the corner outfields, but that power is not quite developing the way I'd like it to. And unfortunately, even with a really good, it's an okay season technically, his better season was last year. There is actually a pretty decent chance that I will not be extending a arbitration offer to De La Cruz, and we might see about a minor league contract for him down the road. But we'll see about that. But anywho, we're hopeful that these 3 qualifying offers are all declined. This would give us 3 supplemental draft picks, I believe, right after the first round, which would be very nice. That would actually give us some kind of a boost for our rookie systems to be able to develop some more better players, to be able to work around that, but also just to get out of some contracts that we really just cannot afford now. So all that being said and done, we now officially have the 9th overall player payroll, expected player payroll of about $191 million, and that is going to be on par if we get all of this stuff done. Now, We did have the Tigers retain a little bit of Jacob's contract. He was going to be owed 17 million. They took 50% of that contract, so we have Jacob signed for a very cheap contract all the way through 2035. Now, we do need to start thinking about people like Lovato. He's injured for an entire season. I don't think I can get out of that contract, unfortunately. But Carlos Rodriguez is not going to be extended. We're not going to have that arbitration on our hands. Cabrera is not going to be arbitrated. I might not arbitrate De La Cruz, which could save us maybe like $8 or $9 million. And then if we start to option and DFA some of these players who are not going to be making it to the big leagues, maybe we'll get some more money back. But Tovar being not on the system, Valdez not being on the system, and Green not being on the system, it's a good start. It's a good sign, but Holiday and Merrill, $38 and $30 million, they are going to need to step up, and they are going to have to be as good as possible. Jackson Merrill had a good season, 30-30-30 season. He had a 130 OPS plus. We're still hopeful he can kind of bounce back a little bit more and get us just that last little bit of better offense. But 5.2 WAR season for our second baseman, who split some playing time at DH for the season. We'll see if he ends up playing second base for this upcoming season. I think he's scheduled to play second base, but he should be pretty good. Jackson Merrill did have an injury at some point, but in the 87 games he played, he was doing very well. He had a 3.2 WAR season for basically a half year. So if he gets the rest of that back, I think he's at least a 5 or a 6 WAR player, and that's acceptable. That's a little under Riley Green in terms of WAR for the money, but for the ability to have two really good young players in the system playing, second base and center field, that is acceptable, and I will take that. Bobby Witt Jr. is much cheaper. Condon, Rada still on the system. I might be thinking about trading Rada in the offseason. We'll see what we can come around with here. He's going to get a little expensive once he gets up to that $22.6 million. So I'll see what I can do about Rada, but unfortunately, he's going to be hard to get rid of because while he's still pretty good, he did not have a good season, and that's going to make his tradability very, very poor moving into this upcoming offseason. But I'll see what I can do about him as well. But otherwise, that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. For the upcoming season, before we get into our off-season trades, additional signings, we're still waiting for Jaden Stroman to come back. He is expected to be our starting shortstop of a 77 overall shortstop ability. We might keep him in right field if we can pick up a better shortstop than Terang, but right now, it's looking like it's going to be Stroman playing at shortstop, which would mean that we would potentially, if we trade Rada, we would have 2 corner outfield positions available to be filled, which could be filled by people kind of like Kevin Roberts Jr., who's got some really good defense. It could be other people. It could be people like, of course, we've talked about Micah Matthews. We've talked about Eddie Pelend. Justin Novar is banging on the door. He wants to get into AAA, into the majors as well. Robert Kalaz might be an option for us in the upcoming season. I know he wouldn't be anything besides basically a power batter, but at this point, we would be just basically trying to throw people around our main squad of Condon, Witt Jr., Holiday, and Merrill with Stroman. That would be our key 5 players. They would be filling all the major positions for us, being able to really cover most of the team, and then anything else we get would just basically be supplemental. We could be exchanging rookies. We could be working with someone from free agency if we can get a little more money. We do have our budgets back up to speed, so 25 mil for development and 25 mil for scouting. If we wanted to drop those down to say maybe 20 and maybe drop down our draft budget, but if we get those qualifying offers, I got to increase the draft budget. So we'll see what we can do. There's also a chance that maybe the owner will increase our budgets again after he does a review of the offseason, but that would be closer to the end of the offseason and not before. So unfortunately, again, it's just kind of silly how he's like, oh yeah, let me drop you down 26 million, but then next year I'm going to expected to increase you by 20 million and then drop you down another 8. Like this is kind of stupid a little bit. One of the things I don't like about OOTP is sometimes the budgeting is just kind of like, why did the owner make this decision to drop us down now? We've won back-to-back World Series and he drops our budget? What's the logic there? Like, I don't understand if he's trying to clamp down on us not making enough money or having too much luxury sharing. I don't understand. Like, if we had too much luxury sharing, you should be increasing the budget. And, we I don't know. Anywho, my quip of the day and an issue I'm still trying to figure out. But anywho, we had a great season. We are now officially in that build dynasty mode. We are a dynasty. The Colorado Rockies, winners of the last 2 World Series. It has been phenomenal for us. We are on a roll, and we really should not be, anything but playoff bound. I would imagine we're playoff bound until Kunkel either retires or just falls apart, because this kind of a pitcher on this kind of a contract, we can have Kunkel until he's 37 if he wants to stay here. Yeah, at least 7 more years of Kunkel, at least. We have at least 7 more seasons of World Series quality baseball in the Colorado Rockies organization. And I'm not joking. That is how it's going to be. We have probably a fairly decent chance. I would say we have a 50-50 chance of winning the World Series for the next 7 years, because we have everybody that we want signed for what? At least Holiday, Merrill, Kunkel, Condon, Urada. We could have Witt, we have Witt Jr. signed till 2037. McCarthy can replace Romo. We can have all these people on arbitration. We are good basically until 2037. So we're basically all set until Kunkel has the option to opt out in 2038. After 2038, my apologies. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. We have 7 years, ladies and gentlemen, of basically should be the best team in baseball quality baseball playing. And that includes people like Ben Jacobs being here for the next 4 seasons. And we can add on to this list. If we want to, we can pop people out like Romo. We could pop out an $11 million catcher who's just all defense. I'd prefer not to do that, but when he bats 176, there's a high chance we're going to do that. I would be more than willing to go ahead and say that Josh McPherson and Ben McCarthy, especially McCarthy, are probably going to take over the catching duties moving forwards. And we'll be looking at whether or not we want to move Romo, if we want to move other people who are more expensive. I think Romo and Rada would be the 2 people that I would move at this point, and look to shore up either prospects or get someone who we can have long-term and the same kind of a length contract as Merrill and Holiday, who could play another outfield position for us. That would be the option there. So all that to say, I know it's been a long episode. My apologies. We've got a lot of fun stuff happening. We'll continue to work on our stuff. We'll see what we can do. Maybe Novar is that long-term corner outfield prospect. He'd be an amazing left fielder. So we'll see what we can do, and I will let you all know exactly how the off-season goes for 2031. 3rd World Series win, everyone. It's going really well.